and it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you good-looking and intelligent people and also family to this wonderful event. 50 years, the Golden Jubilee for Glen and Cheryl. Where are they? Oh, there they are. Not sitting together.
Let's get them together.
Romance. 50 years really is a very humbling number if you think about it. Glen is guarding the champagne because we're paying by the glass. Oh, you are all paying by the glass. If you think about it, 50 years, and judging by this crowd, a lot of you have seen some of those. 50 years ago, the automated teller machine had just been introduced, only 2 years prior. I'm not sure if you know that. The ATM, for those of you who don't know what that means. MC Hammer had not yet worn parachute pants. I don't see any parachute pants in the crowd today. Nobody? They haven't endured that much. And the internet was still just a gleam in Al Gore's eye, but today, obviously, it is omnipresent and all around us. What I know of the history of my mom and dad mostly involves myself, unfortunately. The three of us started out in Cedar Falls, Iowa. It was those were wonderful, wonderful times with bike rides. Mom and dad would work, I'm sure, and maybe go to college on occasion, but it was great. You know, one kid, I think, is probably the best situation for most of us, and it certainly was for me, and all the bike rides were fantastic. But then we moved, and it started. The rest of the kids. That said, I mean, honestly, Blaine and I had a pretty good thing going for a while. I mean, we lived in the big city in Des Moines, Iowa. We lived really close to our cousins, Mike and Jenny's kids. It was fantastic, a couple blocks away. We had our own puppet show stage in our upstairs. Caught fireflies at night. It was fantastic. But then that changed. Mom and Dad always wanted the best for us, obviously, and so they decided they wanted to play the law of averages. They wanted to cut down the amount of competition that we would have to endure in life, so they moved us here to Neilsville. It's a numbers thing, people. 2,500 people, that's not true. Well, you know the end result, more kids showed up. And they're here today. They look much like I do right now. They kept proliferating, and now the world is stuck with 4 of us. All kidding aside, we couldn't have asked for more during our childhood. I mean, we tried. But we were consistently rebuked with one of Dad's favorite phrases: you can wish in one hand and shit in the other and see which one goes up first. But we did have a consistent and loving environment where success was the baseline expectation. And the only thing left to us was to figure out to what degree we would succeed. Well, I left the house and went to college, and that's where our timeline started to divert a bit. Even if just a little. The years have passed. I sometimes feel like the easiest way to track the years since college are to track the eras of my dad's shirts. There was the Eddie Bauer sweatshirt era. That lasted from, I don't know, when we were in Seattle until probably last year. It's still in the drawer. There was a turkey leg and meat 3/4 length t-shirt that my nephew Chris made for us for a party that we threw in 2007, I think. 2007. And now, although he's got a nice dapper Hawaiian shirt on today, there was the Colorado flag 3/4 t-shirt that we bought him when we moved there 6 years ago. So the three years of t-shirts of Glen is how it takes place. It's really remarkable, honestly. All of us, my brothers and I, you know, we've all successfully separated from the nest at one point. We've been pushed out one way or another, and I honestly think that is unbelievable and a true testament to the upbringing that we received. Now, as I have children, I frequently find myself looking back and trying to decode what's made our upbringing so good, what made it worthwhile, what made us successful, what made them successful in getting us out of. No way, in being happy and successful. I mean, one thing that shocks me, and it'll shock you as much as it does me, perhaps, and I'm puzzling over this for years, is somehow they managed to make each of us deplore the idea of underage drinking or drug use prior to getting out of high school. And I do emphasize underage in that discussion. The main thing that comes back to me, though, as I raise my family, is something that I would ask my parents from time to time, and they were both consistent in this one. I would always ask, Mom, Dad, what do you want me to be when I grow up? And they would always say one thing. They said, happy. And that's all.
I thought it was rich.
But I didn't say. I don't know if I want to read this one or not. All right, now I can't really see it. Shut up. Who's that? That's how you know you're old, is when your kids need reading glasses, I think. All right, everybody raise a glass. Time for a toast. Please raise your glass up. And I have chosen an Irish toast today because, as you likely know, my dad was born Irish, and my mom has had a lot of Irish in her over the years. I mean, she gave birth to the four of us. We were in there for 9 months, for goodness sakes. So, here's to a long life and a merry one, a quick death and an easy one, a pretty girl and an honest one, and a cold beer and another one. Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. All right, I'd like to introduce my next younger brother, Blaine. Blaine to the stage now. Everybody, Blaine.
We're going to talk about your mom.
I have to make sure I'm in the camera brush. Okay, so just wanted to start out by letting you all know that most of you missed out on the theme. Did we not tell you this was a Hawaiian party? Sorry. No, it's not. It's really not. It was just a family thing, kind of an inside family thing we all decided to do, but I don't really know why Brandon and I are wearing Hawaiian shirts. See, Mom and Dad took Bryce and Brett to Hawaii. Brandon and I got to go to Arkansas. So, really, we should be wearing Walmart shirts. I am. Okay, so for those of you who don't know or remember or recognize me, I'm Blaine, second oldest. I'm not a young guy anymore. I've been teaching English for almost 20 years in St. Paul. And I've been around for 46 years, just about, of my parents' union. And for those of you much younger than me, I want to apologize in advance for the 70s and 80s references that I'm about to use. When I came onto the scene in the mid-70s, people predictably referred to my family as the Grady Bunch. Occasionally, we'd have a very special episode, heavy on drama and full of life lessons. But mainly the Grady Bunch, our family life, was a lighthearted sitcom. It was a fun, safe, and loving place to grow up. In the Valley Girl era of the 1980s, a new expression started making the rounds. Get a life. And believe me, this expression was directed at me many, many times. And I took these words to heart. To me, the expression get a life implies that your own life is not interesting or cool or valuable, but that a better, cooler life exists outside of yourself, and it's your responsibility to go out and get it. I was the Jan Brady of the family. I desperately wanted to go out and show others and myself that I could get that life. I knew I technically had a life, but one that was cool, one that would get me noticed for the right reasons. I was pretty sure I didn't have that life. Here's a little rundown of how uncool I was growing up. 1. If I wasn't warming a bench in whatever sport I was playing, I was on the field or court embarrassing my team, my coaches, my family. 2. I was the water boy for the high school football team. The water boy. 3. I was never, not even once, invited to a high school party where drinking was involved, other than that of parents. This is in the middle of Wisconsin. I didn't dislike myself. My parents always made me feel loved, important, special, even though I had brothers who recognized and took advantage of every one of my weaknesses. I sometimes felt like an only child. I think my brothers felt the same way. This wasn't about the lack of a relationship that we had with each other, but more about the intense, high-quality, loving relationship that we each had with our parents. They found ways to get us alone, talk with us, figure out where our heads were at, gently nudge us in healthier and better directions. I took them for granted mostly because I never didn't have that level of support, but I recognize it now that I try to do the same for my students. Get a life. Back then it seemed so simple. In fact, this expression probably had some impact on my decision after college to move to Japan for 2 years. Even after I came home, a part of me was still seeking that better, cooler life, the one I was supposed to go out and magically get. I recently got progressive lenses, which are like bifocals without the lines. And now I see the world with fresh eyes. Fresh, middle-aged eyes. Looking back at my time growing up with mom and dad, I did not see a model of getting a life. What I saw, even though I didn't realize it at the time, was a clear example of two people who made a life. And day after day, year after year, in sickness and in health, they chose to make that life together. My parents are amazing individually, but they're even better together. I admire the enthusiasm and optimism that they both have about life, even and especially about some of the most mundane things. The best example I can give of this is a recent trip we took to Costco to get ready for this party. Mom and Dad are like kids in a candy store at Costco, and they want to share their best finds with each other. Cheap toilet paper! Oh, Cheryl, look at this! The biscotti that Jim and Dorothy like, oh, Glen, we need to buy this for them. Making a life is rarely about big gestures, but it takes patience and grace. It's little decisions like how to spend your time or how to show people that you care. Everyone here has a unique role in the life of my mom and dad. And now I lost my spot. We've all reaped the benefits of your union. Mom and Dad, you are better. And I'm talking right to ya. Yeah. He's listening to Garrison Keeler. Mom and Dad, you are better and stronger together. Thank you for making a beautifully inclusive life, for constantly welcoming family and friends, for the gestures, big and small, that help us see how much you love us. We love you too. So, yeah, thank you. I wasn't sure if I would have us do a toast after having to listen to me talk that long. I think we probably should. So raise a glass, drink to my parents, and I'll pass it on to the next kid, all right? Cheers.
Okay, I want to make sure I'm out of the camera view.
It moves, Bryce.
All right, thank you. Hi, I'm Bryce. I'd like to thank my two opening acts. Now welcome to the main event. So while pondering this speech, which I got very little instructions or time limits, mine is much longer than my brother's, something I've had to deal with my entire life. I thought of the wonderful eulogies that my dad has written for the many people close to him that have passed. I thought what a great idea it would be to do a eulogy for someone while they were still alive so they would know how I feel about them before they were gone. So with that being said, this speech is inspired by you, Dad, and it's for you, Mom. Okay, so that's as far as I got with the eulogy. I'll work on it for both of you and share it hopefully before you're gone. But still, I still have 36 minutes to entertain you. So I figure I'll tell you a few of my memories of my parents along with a few jokes. Many of you may not believe this, but I was not the easiest kid in the world to raise. My life started out with my dad questioning the doctor in the delivery room after catching the first glance at my newborn body. "Is this child yours, Dr. Reddy?" he said, since my skin was a bit darker than my parents'. I'm convinced that's what laid the foundation for my smart-ass personality that I've pretty much mastered throughout my life. Joke number one. At 16, I got my first serious girlfriend. That's not the joke. So a few weeks later, I brought up the idea of me getting married to my parents. I fondly remember my dad saying to me, "Why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free?" If my mom could think on her feet, she would have responded with, "Why buy an entire pig for a tiny little sausage?" Don't worry, they get better. Elementary school was made up of two major moments or memories in my life, one of which I'm legally able to share with you today. In second grade, I created "I Hate You" Valentines for all the girls in my class. I truly did hate them, so I was being genuine. Apparently that doesn't matter much in second grade. So my teacher called my mom to talk about it, and my mom swore I could not have done that. Perhaps my little brother Brett had gotten into the Valentines before I gave them out. Brett was 3, I think. So the odds of it being him were not very good, and Brett also ended up with that same second grade teacher, I believe.
Hey, Bryce, push it up. We can't hear you very well.
That's good. This is all garbage. Okay, so you want me to start over? Oh God, Pete, thanks a lot. Where the hell am I? I'm very thankful to you, Mom, for showing me at a young age that nothing I do is my fault. It's all Brett's fault. I'll now share some advice for all the men here today. Always have your wife's picture as your cell phone background. This way, if you are having a hard day, you can just look at the picture on your phone and tell yourself, if I can handle her, I can handle anything. Thanks for that one, Brandon. I appreciate it. Let's see, I have a lot of memories of my dad as well. Since we're at the golf course, I'll share with you my first golfing memory of my father. He was teaching me how to golf. I think I was 4 or 5. He went through, all the, this is how you stand, blah, blah, blah. He gets to the part, okay, now you need to aim 4 feet behind the ball if you want to hit it in the sweet spot. Of course, this is because my dad is pretty much legally blind, so that's what he has to aim in order to hit the ball. Oh, 4 inches, okay. Well, mine's funnier. Another memory I have of my dad was my senior year of high school. I went with him and Uncle Mike to Peru to visit my Uncle Bernie. I think both of you guys are here, or you were here, all right. Hello. I'd taken 3 years of Spanish at good old Neilsville High, so I was pretty fluent in my mind. So I thought it was a totally legitimate request for me to walk around Cusco by myself at 11:30 at night and just meet up with my dad at the hotel room when I got done doing whatever I wanted to do. To my astonishment, he refused to allow his 17-year-old son to do that. I finally understood his hesitation the other day when my 7-year-old Vince asked to ride his bike around the block by himself at 10 o'clock in the morning in our gated community. So I hope someone is recording this because, Dad, I never thought I'd say this, but you were right and I was wrong. Once. So thanks for that. Instead of a toast, I'll leave you with another quick joke and a fun fact, and then you can all take a drink. Also, if I haven't offended any of you yet, please stop by and talk to me after the show. My mom is getting old and requested I take pictures of everyone in attendance because I assume she's so old she won't be able to remember who she saw. And I think I've only taken 3 pictures. So, the quick joke. Why do men ask women for their hand in marriage? Because they're tired of using their own. And here's a fun fact. So women spend more time wondering what men are thinking than men actually spend thinking. And drop mic. Oh wait, I wasn't supposed to say that.
We're supposed to toast, right? Oh, you can do another one, sweetie. All right, so being the youngest, I'm obviously the one of us that did this on paper. I don't know where I invented this thing, but the internet. The internet, right. It comes up, just hold on. All right, I hope you don't mind, but I had to write out my speech. I get nervous, so I wanted to make sure I didn't forget anything I wanted to say. I definitely didn't just Google something this morning. All right, here we go. Way back in the day before iPhones and the internet, a boy met a girl. He liked her, she liked him, and they got hitched a few weeks after Americans drove on the moon for the first time. We're here today to celebrate that day and the 50 years that followed. They've stayed together through all of life's challenges. They've had more ups than downs, thankfully, and a lot to celebrate along the way. Children, successful careers, close friendships, grandchildren, seeing the world, they've done it all. Without them, several of us wouldn't even be here. So let's take a moment to thank our gracious hosts and happy couple, the pair that made it through thick and thin and still madly in love to this day. Congratulations, Milton and Carrie Davenport. Oops, I forgot to change that part. In all seriousness, I've only known Glen and Cheryl for about 3/4 of those 50 years, so I can't speak to the whole time. In the time I have known them, though, they've been excellent parents and an even better couple. Though no one is perfect, they are perfect for each other and have a union worth celebrating. I can't say they've taught me everything I know because I know how to use the TV remote. But I also can't imagine having better parents. I can see each of them in me, and now in my kids too. My mom taught me to pay attention to the details and to persist until the job is done. My dad taught me to take on big challenges and not back down. They both have been patient, kind, loving, and attentive. At this point, my brothers especially might be wondering who I'm talking about. I imagine I have slightly different memories of my parents because I'm the baby. There are certain benefits that come with being the baby, at least for me. The most controversial among the siblings, and as you've heard, is the quality of vacations. Before I graduated high school, I had been to DC, San Diego, Orlando twice, Seattle, Boston, Hawaii, Mexico, Japan, Canada, and the Dominican Republic. Twice. In comparison, Brandon and Blaine were able to see the Badlands and Tucumcari, New Mexico. Sorry, I forgot Arkansas.
That is.
All right, I'm gonna have to scream the rest.
Will something happen to it when it fell?
All right, now I have to figure out where I am. There have been other benefits too, though. By the time I was making my own mistakes, they knew how to deal with them all.
They didn't sweat the small stuff and were constantly teaching me about the big stuff. I like to think I'm a much better parent today because of all they've taught me, even though I was technically a mistake.
A real mistake.
Speaking of mistakes, I thought it would be a good idea to write a poem in lieu of a toast. We can still drink at the end though. Alright, so this is an ode from your best mistake. 50 years have come and gone, we celebrate the day when Glen and Cheryl said I do and started on their way.
Start the poem.
Oh, we're live, okay. Calvin, be quiet. Okay, an ode from your best mistake. 50 years have come and gone, we celebrate the day when Glen and Cheryl said I do and started on their way. 4 boys were made and raised and stand here now with you. Most say 3 were quite enough, and maybe even 2. But Glen and Cheryl had to try to have a little girl, so off they went that fateful eve to give it one more whirl. 9 months passed before they met another stinking boy who loved his parents very much, despite their lack of joy. As time went on, they settled for no daughter of their own and waited for the fruits to fall from seeds that they had sown. Their wait was soon rewarded with granddaughters to enjoy, and one was brought into this world by that unwanted boy. As life goes on, I've learned to live with being a mistake. So let's move on and celebrate with drinks and lots of cake. Thank you for everything, Mom and Dad. I love you. Congratulations. And now let's all toast. Here's to Glen and Cheryl.
You guys haven't sat there long enough yet. I just want to thank everybody for coming, mainly. And I want to introduce the best man and the maid of honor at our wedding, and they still look the same that they did when we got married. Jack Turk, where are you at? Stand up, Jack. And Shelley Kettleson at the time, but now Goltz. And this is kind of a nice day for us because next Sunday we will be going to their 50th anniversary. They got married 6 days after we did, and Cheryl was her matron of honor. Yeah. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody for coming. My kids are all liars, but you all knew that. And I hope to see you in another 50 years. Thanks.
And I still have drink tickets. Thanks, everybody.